I wanted to ask you guys on that. Like, what's the late? Do you know the latest news on Shakib and Mushfiq if they're coming back or not? And
We don't know anything about Shakib yet. It looks like.
hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Yorker. We're gonna cover the first Test series that just happened versus New Zealand in New Zealand. Uh, we went to the fourth day, which was, I guess, most fans will take that before, but because before the series even started, we weren't sure of what to expect. But I mean, really, and I know Rinat's a pretty realistic guy. I think he would have actually accepted going into the fourth day. Would you have accepted that, Rinat?
I don't know. I mean, being realistic is one thing, and then
Yeah.
but being from the realistic part of me, I knew that we weren't gonna perform really well. But that doesn't mean that I accept the result that happened because we have been playing Test cricket for a long time. Taking the test to the fourth day, that's not really a result of any sort you would expect from a team that has been playing this format for a long time. But again, looking at the squad that we had, looking at the injuries that we had, looking at what how we performed in the ODI series, I don't know if we expected anything better than what happened. In fact, I would say we were quite lucky. You know, if it wasn't for that special partnership between Riyadh and Shomo, this game would have been a lot worse. We would have had 300 runs in 2 innings or 350 runs in 2 innings. So, but yeah, I think it was a disappointing game. But when you look at what we were missing two of our best batsmen for on this format, Shakib and Mushfiq. And I know a lot of people are gonna think that I am giving excuses here, but then for Bangladesh, losing two significant guys is a pretty big deal, right? It may not be as big of a deal for a team like India because they have other people that are specialists of this format. But for us, when we lose one or two of our senior players, it affects the game in a big way, right? And then considering the fact that we lost the only two guys that performed the last time. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it was disappointing. But what did you think, Roy? I mean, Alfie?
I mean, honestly, this kind of just, exposes our batting weaknesses that we've been kind of just having continuously for the last like 2 years, ever since that South Africa tour in 2017. Our batting in overseas tests has not been. I mean, and actually we haven't batted that well at home either. But our batting in overseas tests have been really, really shambolic. We can take a little bit of pride that both innings our opening partnership crossed 43. So in Antigua we were 43 all out, and both times here the openers were able to get us half-century partnerships, which is good. And I didn't really support the inclusion of Shomo and Riyadh and Mithun in the team. I mean, Riyadh is vice captain. I mean, obviously he's going to be in the team regardless. But I was kind of wondering why. But Riyadh has really turned it on. In the last three tests, I think he's got 300s. So he's done really well. Shomo came out and played. I'm still not 100% sold on Shomo, but one of the things is he's a really talented player, and on his day, I mean, he just showed what he can do. So he's like an Ashraful 2.0. And the question is, can we afford to have a player, a hit or miss player like that in the 11? And I mean, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. But right now, it looks like he's definitely got a place in the side. Because even if Mushi comes in, he's going to obviously take Mithun's spot. And then when Shakib comes in, the next player to get dropped would be probably. I mean, at this point, it would be Liton. And then Mushi would have to keep wicket, which is less than ideal, but I mean, that's to fit everyone in the squad. So
Yeah. No, we're just talking about it earlier on that how we feel that no one really complained at the onset of this match. People almost just accepted their fate going in because we didn't have good enough replacements. Most people
Mhm.
agreed with resting Fizz, and even though now many are raising questions against Miraz, but they didn't do that before. So, and I mean, this is what we've got. And maybe part of the problem is, and Alfie, I know you touched on this earlier, that we've not been playing enough test games, and maybe if we play more, we'll eventually get better. You'll give more guys the platform to show themselves. And I myself, as a cricket fan, I'm also learning, new things about tests. How just the very fact that this is the format where you prove yourself. Like I was
Mhm.
really amazed watching Shomo's innings, the way Wagner was just bowling body line every single delivery.
Yeah, you don't get that. You're not going to get that in limited overs. I mean, it's a true battle. It's a true battle between. I mean, the bowler has pretty much all the weapons at his disposal. He's got the field. He can set however he likes. Um, sorry to cut you off. But the batsman also has. He doesn't have scoreboard pressure. He can just. Well, he doesn't have run rate pressure. Let's put it that way. He can absorb whatever he wants and just pick the bad balls to hit. So it's a true test of skill. But yeah, continue. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, no,
But
no, I actually finished my point. And what else about this match? I thought Tamim was outstanding, and he kind of
he was
needed this.
phenomenal.
After the ODI, he kind of needed this. Shotman, he was good, but I don't know. I was kind of hoping he would go past 50 in either of the innings.
Next game for sure. Next game for sure, and then the game after that, he'll get 100.
Yeah. I like the fact that he stays in there. He doesn't. He puts a price on his wicket. I like that about
Yeah.
Shotman.
What did you think about Shadman, Rinat?
I'm impressed. I mean, I was impressed in the first innings. I'm impressed now. I mean, scoring runs, when it's your first away tour, first away game against possibly the world's best bowling attack in Test right now, in their home. It is not easy. I mean, as easy as it sounds, I mean, Tamim was able to completely neutralize Bolt and Saudi, but that doesn't take away the fact that these two are still probably the two best seamers that we have in Test cricket right now. So to go up against that and playing the way he played, I think it's very impressive. I don't think we have ever seen any batsman from Bangladesh, not even Tamim, having such a solid start in away games.
Yeah.
It is the first time for me. So in that sense, I would actually say that Tamim probably should have played a little bit more responsibly, right? He knows that the senior list in the team is cut by half, so it was just up to Riyadh and Tamim, and then Tamim knew that he is probably the bigger specialist between the two, so he had a huge responsibility to play with Shadman as a new guy next to him. But I felt like he kept going after the runs, which is understandable because I'm sure he was hungry for runs after such a odd ODI series. I mean, he's not someone that fails 3 games in a row. So I understand that, but again, I won't blame Shadman at all. I mean, he looked
No.
very good.
Yeah.
There are obviously gonna be a lot of things that he has to work on. I mean, he's not a Superman. I have not seen any batsman in the world that starts in unknown conditions and starts performing and starts looking fluent. So my expectations were very low, and he has exceeded that by far.
My expectations were pretty high, and he's met those expectations. I expected him to, if not get really really big scores, get some runs, which he did. He scored 24 and 37, not bad.
Yeah.
Get some runs and look respectable doing it.
Right, right. And he
I
did,
mean,
and yeah, his shots were amazing. It was coming
yeah,
off really nicely for up the
no
bat.
edges, not really even beaten by any balls. Now, granted, this was a very flat wicket, but more often than not, you're going to get wickets like this in Test cricket, especially in New Zealand. You're going to get a grassy green top where the ball actually doesn't do anything. There'll be a little bit of swing in the air for the first 10 overs or so, but that's about it. Um, so all in all, Shadman did really, really well. Tamim played really well. He played as well as what we expect from him, really. Um, it is disappointing. He kind of threw his wickets away. He had at least a double century in one of the innings that he missed out on. But that's the beautiful thing about a 3-test series is Tamim now has a platform. He's got his confidence up, whatever was down from the ODI series, and he's got 4 more innings on tour. Let's see if he can smack a couple more big ones.
Yeah, I mean, except those 2 massive innings from Mahmudullah and Shomo, I think it was a middle order failure. It wasn't the top order's fault at all. They're good in both of them. In both of the innings, they're pretty good. It's just that Mithun, Liton, and Shomo, except that one innings, couldn't support them. And I remember after the first innings, most of the fans were saying, okay, Liton's good, but kick Shomo out or something like that. But after the second innings, of course, they're saying, okay, keep Shomo in there, but throw Liton out. So I don't think even us 3, we're kind of undecided on who really is the better option. The sample size is just too narrow, I feel, too few.
I don't think none of them are very good options of this format, to be perfectly honest. Liton does have the capability. I mean, his stats does indicate that he can play a long innings. But Liton's problem is, he has a lot of technical issues, I would say, at this point. Something I didn't believe was possible. And for Shomo, it's probably the other way around. Shomo is a very talented player, doesn't really have a great domestic record. But then, whenever he plays these odd innings, he just shows that he does belong to that game, to that format. But having said that, I know we were saying that, Tamim did really well, Shadman did really well. Shadman I'm going to leave out, but Tamim, then there was Riyad, then there's Shomo. They all played well one innings each. But this is the kind of pitch that I think 100 was like a benchmark score for every player, right? Mm-hmm. If you look at it, there wasn't much of a movement. Their pace wasn't unplayable, They were bowling good bouncers, but then these are small fields, right? So, smacking those bouncers away aren't that difficult either. You've seen it from Shomo, seen it from Riyad, right?
Yeah.
So the scores, even scoring 70 to 80 runs, were not enough. 100 was benchmark score. So in that case, every single player did fail in this test match in general, with Tamim, Riyad, Shomo playing one good innings each, and that's simply not good enough. When you're up against such a strong team, you got to remember it's the number 2 team in the world right now, right? And they're playing at home, Yeah. So you have to set your standards high. The first inning score was short by approximately like 300 runs, and you can't come back in the game after that. It's not possible.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not possible. But you know what? I wish Shomo.
Well, no, it would have been possible in the second innings when we collapsed. We were 88 without loss at one stage, and then we were 126 for 4. So we lost 4 wickets for about 30 odd runs. And if we don't do that, it's very possible we could have drawn this match. And so this is going to give us confidence going into the next test match, because the pitch is going to be the same. It's going to be a green top pitch. It'll be very flat. The only difference is in Wellington, there's expected to be a lot of wind. So in day one, it's supposed to be raining. There's a huge forecast for rain. So we may see a washout. It might be a 4-day game, guys, for the next test. But anyways.
Right. No, it was a batting-friendly pitch. No doubt about that. But I'm just thinking, would things have turned out differently if Shomo held on to that catch, that first ball catch that he dropped of Ibadat Hussein's bowling? And speaking of that, I thought our bowlers did pretty well, actually. Would you guys think?
So I watched a little bit. I watched most of the first spell from the seamers. We're mostly going to be talking about the fast bowlers just because of the conditions. And honestly, all 3 of them started well in their first spell. Abu Jahid and Ibadat were really impressive in terms of, getting the batsman, to miss and play, beating the outside edge. Ibadat actually got the edge that was dropped by Shomo, as Roey pointed out. They bowled pretty well. Like, Ibadat was bowling with some pretty good pace. It was only in the high 130s, touching 140 on occasion. It looked faster than that, to be honest, when I was watching. I guess he bowls a heavy ball, but he does have a decent action. I think that maybe he needs to work on his action, his delivery, just a little bit. I don't think he has a uniform action when he's coming in. I'm talking about Ibada. Jayed, he's got a very James Anderson-like action, and he swings the ball too, which is pretty rare for Bangladesh. Khalid, to me, is the least impressive of the three, but given his height and the fact that he has decent pace, if he can be a line and length bowler, we need one guy to be a workhorse. If he could be that workhorse, bowl a line and length, and keep his economy rate down, that's fine. He started his spell pretty well. It was like 6 overs for 6 runs. So all 3 bowlers had a beautiful start to the spell, but then as the game wore on, the loose balls started coming, and I guess they started getting frustrated with the drop catches, maybe bad fielding, and just the flat nature of the pitch. So all in all, I would say that you got to cut them some slack. I mean, they're all combined. They played like 3 tests coming into the game. So
and Abu Jaid Rahi missed the top of the stumps of Jeet Raval, who went on to score
multiple times.
Score. And then Latham was dropped on 0, and then he also went on to have a massive score. And Kane Williamson, well, he's too good. I think he's going down as maybe top 20 batsman of all time when he's done.
Yeah.
So, except those two, those 2 chances. But I also understand what Rinat's saying, that it was a batting-friendly pitch, and maybe it wouldn't have really mattered. But at the same,
I don't think it would. I don't think it would have mattered that much.
But
that catch is taken. Williamson comes in at the crease.
But Alfie, here's what I'm getting at. I think the new ball. There is something to be said about the new ball, because once that play against us, we knew it was game over. Like whatever Shomo and Riyadh had built after they got the new ball, and most fans caught on to this. They're saying that okay, now Bangladesh is that's it. We're gonna lose now. We're gonna lose today. We're not gonna make it the 5th day, and that turned out to be the case.
Well, yeah. When you look at it, by the time Kane Williamson came to bat, the ball was 69 overs old, and the team was 254 for 1. There was no scoreboard pressure. They were already past the lead, and the ball was old. The bowlers were tired. The fielders were tired. So automatically it was easy. Like I can't say that it would have been different, but also I can't deny the fact that it could have been a lot more difficult for Kane Williamson to play the innings that he played if he came on early. Right.
Absolutely.
And I honestly felt that, considering the fact that our players started bowling towards the end of the day, they didn't have the early morning advantage on the first innings. I thought they bowled better than New Zealand seamers.
No, they did.
That's a very big thing to say, because you look at our team, our seamers. These 3 guys have like 7 tests in between them, right? And when they actually performed better than the most experienced and probably the best seamer tag in the world right now, that tells you that these guys have a lot of potential.
Yeah.
And you gotta stick to them. Again, I agree with Alfie that Khalid probably looked the least impressive, and but again, he's very new. I'm sure we never know. The more time you give him, he'll come back. He'll probably, if he can get his speed up by another like 5 to 10 kilometers, he can be very lethal even without a lot of swing or bounce. But again, at the same time, whatever Alfie said, and that's a great point, because you have Rahi, who is a swing bowler. You have Ibadat, who's a very aggressive kind of bowler. So these guys, if not on their best days, are going to go for some runs. So you need every other bowler, whether be it a spinner or another seamer, they have to tighten up, because otherwise it's just going to be a run fest, which is what happened actually.
Right. And you need to make your chances count. If there's a chance, you need to hold on to it.
Absolutely.
In a format like this, if you get a wicket, it kind of motivates the whole team.
Yeah.
To do better.
I mean, early wickets, it would just G up the team.
Right, but overall, people aren't complaining too much. Like I said, they want the same players to be given more chances. But let's talk about the second game. And after this, we'll close it out. What can we do better? What did we learn from the first game? And just get into the selections, I guess. So right off the bat, people want to drop Miraz for Naeem. And uh, I think that wouldn't be too bad, giving Naeem a chance, even though Pacers do better in New Zealand conditions. But Naeem can get that bounce, I guess. And
I think we talked about this, right? Even before the first test, we were saying that
yeah,
how Naeem's height would give him an advantage. We weren't exactly opposed to playing Miraz, but we were just thinking that it may be a better decision, a more bold decision to go with Naeem. Didn't happen, but I don't know. I feel like, to be very honest, you have to look at what's the role of the spinners in the next two games, and they are not going to be the wicket taking options. So for me, judging by the 49 overs that Miraz has bowled and all those other overs that Mominul has bowled or Riyadh has bowled, I feel like it's not going to make a big difference between Naeem or Miraz. What I would actually suggest is I would actually play Taijul in here because we need someone that's going to contain runs. I don't see either of the three spinners being a wicket taking option. So I would go with the one that I feel most confident that can tighten up. So that's why I would go with Taizul in that sense.
yeah,
But and just because of the fact that we do have Riyadh who can bowl. I don't know why he didn't bowl, but he can bowl off spin. So just based on those two small things, my preference would be to play Taijul, just to tighten up, because we need a bowler who can keep it under three. If every bowler is going over 3.5 to 4, that's a run fest right there in a test match, and you can't have that.
I kind of agree. I mean, I'm not gonna be upset if Miraz plays second match.
Yeah.
Also, but I wouldn't want to see him playing all three when you have backup spinners. If Miraz, if Nigel plays, that's fine. But I would like to see like Naeem play at least one game because we need to see what he can deliver in these conditions. Because we know that we could pick any Jodu Modu spinner from the domestic leagues on our turning pitches at home, and they'll be fine. They'll run through most teams, but we need to see what they can do here. Naeem might be the next best thing. He might be a great spinner, but we're not going to know until he actually plays in these conditions. So I would definitely like to see Naeem play at least one test match. If Nigel comes in for the next game, sure, that's fine. I don't mind. It's going to weaken the batting a little bit, but it's not that Miraz scored a heap of runs in this game.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It's just that Naeem is so new, so we really don't know what he can do. So he might need a go. Just that one game
yeah,
to see.
yeah. The Kiwi batsman won't really know what he can do either, so it'll be an advantage for us there in that sense.
Right.
Well, I think just one point. I think because we know that Shakib does have a slight chance of making the third game, if he does play the third game, it makes it easier for us to play Naeem in that game if we want to, because we have a slow left armer, right? So that's why I was suggesting playing Taijul. But then between Taijul and Naeem, the difference is short term versus long term. We know we have Shakib in the team for a slow left armer for away conditions. If we are genuinely looking for another off spinner that can perform away, then you invest in Naeem in both the games, right? And you see how he does. But if you want to do damage control the very next game, then Taijul is the way to go.
Yeah, I agree. That's probably a correct assessment.
Yeah.
Obviously, Mithun gets the chop, and Mushi comes in. Most likely, Mushi's going to be back for the next game, right, Rinat? Because I think he was like 70 or 80% for the first game, and they didn't want to risk it. So, which is probably the right move.
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted to ask you guys on that. Like, do you know the latest news on Shakib and Mushfiq, if they're coming back or not? And
We don't know anything about Shakib yet. It looks like there's a very slim chance he'll play the third, based on the fact that we have a World Cup coming up, and then and he wants to play IPL. I don't know if he will personally risk it for a dead rubber, but Mushfiq should be in, and he has such a vital role to play. And if Liton can retain his spot, that allows Mushfiq to play a top order spot. And I think that's going to help us a great deal. With Riyadh performing, with Tamim performing, having Mushi in there, who is probably the better of both of those players in this format, you know, it's gonna give us a lot of confidence. But again, I really really hope that our seamers get to bowl first in the conditions. Uh, I feel like it could be a lot different. From based on what I have seen with the new ball for our seamers early on, I think they have a lot of potential. If they can grab a few wickets, the test match will be very interesting with rain on forecast for second day. So yeah.
Yeah. And on that point, what do you think about Fizz? Should he be brought in for the second game? And in place of who if he comes in? Khalid?
That would be
I
the
don't.
obvious move, I think. Steve Rhodes said that Fizz is coming in for the Wellington test because it's going to be windy, and apparently Fizz is the best bowler that Bangladesh has bowling into the wind. I'm not really sure what's going on. I don't know how correct that is. If Steve Rhodes is saying, then most likely it's probably true, and especially since Khalid bowled, at the end his numbers were very poor from the last test. So I think that's most likely what's going to happen. But if Fizz plays poorly, you probably for the third match, Khalid will come right back in. Which again, I personally, with the World Cup coming up and Fizz's injury-prone nature, I would not play him at all in this series. Because honestly, I don't see him being that effective. He's not a swing bowler. So if you're not a swing bowler, then it's going to be difficult in these conditions to pick up wickets. Cutters are not really going to do it. And with the grassy pitch, you're not going to get much reverse swing. The ball doesn't really reverse in these conditions from what I can tell. And Fizz he gets most of his wickets in the subcontinent from reverse swing, actually, in Test cricket. He's actually a pretty good reverse swinger of the ball. The one thing that he could do, that Fizz can do, that New Zealand conditions will be effective, is his bouncer. Fizz is probably the best bowler of the bouncer that I've seen from any Bangladesh player. He just, it's all about the surprise element. And he just comes out and he'll surprise people with that bouncer. He has a very, very good bouncer. It's underrated for sure.
Yeah.
So say Fizz comes in for Khalid and Naeem comes in for Miraz and Mushrik comes in for Mitun. That does seem like much better squad. If not, uh, te- if not technically for the reasons you laid out, Alfie, but at least on name, like just on star power, with this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And that would give a lot of people
Yeah.
encouragement. But uh, just last words on this. I'll go. I think you can bowl as good as you want as well, but from what I've seen, it's going to come down to batting. And what we did in the first match, there's just no excuse apart from say Shomo Riyad, Tamim, and Shadman. All the other guys, the way they batted is just we can't. We need more. We need to expect more. We need to hold them accountable because New Zealand made it look very easy. They made it look too easy, and we made it look too hard. And it shouldn't be like that. And I think batting's the way to at least draw the match. That's another thing about tests I always find interesting because a draw never seems that difficult of a outcome to get, but it turns out to be that way. I really think we can draw I'm going into just predictions now, but I think we can draw the second test. What do you think, Rinat?
I honestly don't think so unless weather plays a crucial factor here. Again, to draw a test, a team needs to bat in one innings, whichever innings that is. A team in one innings needs to bat at least 5 sessions. That's just in my opinion, that's my benchmark.
Yeah.
If
150 overs. Yeah.
Yeah, if you can't do that, you're not going to draw any games. And ideally that should be the first innings because it gets harder later on. So yeah, I don't see that happening. I don't think we have the batting that's required or the skill set that's required to actually bat 150 overs in our first innings, whether it's first or second, it doesn't matter. So it's very unlikely, but if weather does play a factor, that's a whole different story. What I would like to see in the second game is is just better application basically, and players taking responsibility, players understanding the format better. and not giving into we were giving in too much into the setup that was done by Kane Williamson. I mean, Kane Williamson and Wagner, they had a field setup, they had a plan, and we just basically gave into that plan every time. You know, you gotta work the field, you gotta make the opposition captain change his plan. If the opposition captain has one plan and it's working all the way through, that's just very easy, right? You
Yeah.
need to do something different. You need to make the opposition captain think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the good thing is that the team is going to get confidence. 3 batsmen scored hundreds, which even in a flat pitch, against a world-class attack, it's not easy to do. So 3 batsmen are going to have confidence, and then the other batsmen are going to say, well, if they can do it, I can do it too. So overall, the batting lineup is going to be very confident heading into the rest of the series, and that's a terrific thing to do because we didn't have any success we didn't have much success, I'll say, in the ODI series or in the first innings of a test match. So again, just like Rinat said, it's got to come down to application, whether we bat first or second. Mominul had very soft dismissal. He threw his wicket away both innings. First one caught down the leg side, and that's not the first time that's happened. It happened a couple of times, I think, in South Africa. So when people say Mominul can't score overseas, I don't see it as a technical problem because he got out. He was trying to leave the ball, and he ended up getting out down the leg side. We can get out down the leg side. It's just bad luck and just you got to fix something, but it's not a glaring technical problem. And the second innings, he just was chasing a ball he shouldn't have chased, short and wide, but not wide enough to cut, which it looked like he was shaping to cut and edged it behind. So
yeah,
I think Mominul should be confident too that he can score in these conditions, and he's had a bit of success in Wellington. He scored 64 in the test match in Wellington last time. So that was the match where Bangladesh scored 595 declared and still went on to lose. So we have a track record of putting big scores up in Wellington. So I think that we should look to definitely take advantage of that confidence and try to get at least a 450 score in the first innings, batting first, regardless of whether it's first or second. And then it'll put you in a good position to look for a draw.
Yeah. I mean, we can improve, but what does it ultimately mean if we don't get the results that we want?
Exactly.
Do you think we can avoid an innings defeat just to keep it interesting? Get a more specific prediction. Like I'm just going out on a limb and saying we're going to draw. But do you think it'll go to the 4th day or anything like that, or if we can, avoid a innings defeat?
I think we can. I think we can definitely draw the match. The only question is, are we going to apply ourselves, or are we going to let Wagner's bouncers dictate the course of the game, which we did in the first test.
Right. No, I agree. So let's see what happens. Thank you, guys, for joining, and thanks for anyone who's watching. Let's hope for the best. I think we can do better than what we did in the first test. So thanks, guys. Good night. Peace out.
All right. Peace out.